Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees win a series. They win 2-3 at Fenway Park against the Boston Red Sox. So maybe things come full circle where this really bad streak, you could argue, began at Boston, wherever it was, 6 weeks ago, 5 to 6 weeks ago, middle of June was when the Yankees really began their rough patch. And they won the first game at Boston and then lost the next two. In this series, they lose a tough one in game one, a really tough one, which we'll get into, and then win game two, which was a back and forth affair. And the Yankees were down to their last strike in the ninth inning and won in extra innings, which is rare for them. That was the first extra innings win they had since like the second series of the season against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, the Yankees come up with a nice win. So a pretty wild series. And a lot of these Yankees-Red Sox series, especially at Fenway Park, tend to be of the pretty wild variety. So, and in the middle of it all, Jazz Chisholm is traded to the Yankees from the Miami Marlins, and he actually did make his debut in the third game. And the interesting thing is the Yankees are always kind of full of surprises, and I kind of say that like not always in the best of ways. Kind of figured that he'd be batting leadoff. That's what he had mostly been accustomed to with the Miami Marlins, but he actually batted fifth. And he ended up going 1 for 5, had a hit in his last at bat. And it was a pretty eventful sequence, which we'll talk about a little bit. But he played center field, which, based on it being his first game, that kind of made sense. Trent Grisham kind of gets a little bit screwed in that situation. I mean, Grisham had the game-tying hit in the ninth inning off of Kenley Jansen, the one I just talked about where they were a strike away. That was Trent Grisham, who tied the game up in the ninth. His role is going to diminish. Giancarlo Stanton is likely to be back at the start of the Philadelphia Phillies series, which is exciting. And Chisholm coming to the Yankees, he takes the roster spot of J.D. Davis. So J.D. Davis designated for assignment, a very short-lived stint with the Yankees, not a very successful one, and he is gone. Stanton, he will be on the roster. And I would think that finally, you would think that Jahmai Jones would be the one that loses that roster spot. And he has been on the team the entire season. He is well-liked in that clubhouse, but it's just not going to last, whether it be with the Stanton activation or something else. But a couple of days away, we're less than 40, as I'm recording this, we are well more than 48 hours away from the trade deadline. And I just think still a lot of interesting things to come with that. To kind of touch more on the Chisholm acquisition before we get into the series, it seems as if, as far as third base is concerned, and keep this in mind, Oswaldo Cabrera has really done a very nice job. It's unfortunate that he's very likely to lose playing time because when he gets some consistent run, especially him as a left-handed hitter, which would be him being in the lineup more than not against righties, right? Because obviously there's more right-handed pitchers than lefties. It's too bad that he's going to lose some playing time. But Gleyber Torres has shown, I mean, and I'm kind of surprised that he's this outwardly against it, like through the media. He said, like, I'm a second baseman. Like, he basically said, I don't want to play third base, which I understand that, but I'm kind of surprised that he would verbalize that, the right thing to kind of say. And look, like, I respect that he's being like, that he's showing full honesty, but like, it doesn't come off like being a team player. Now, Jazz Chisholm's new to the team. His attitude was, hey, like, wherever they want to put me. And again, he's coming from a bad Miami Marlins team, so there's excitement. He wants to help any way he can, but sounds like where I kind of felt like maybe Gleyber would be more likely to move over to third, Chisholm seems like he would be the one potentially going to third. But all that said, there could be still some other moves that the Yankees made. I mean, they will. Certainly, like on the pitching side, I expect there to be at least one reliever that comes in, if not more. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if they bring in a depth starter. Maybe even more than a depth starter, honestly. But it'll be interesting to see if another position player comes in. And all this to say that I still would not be shocked if Gleyber Torres is traded. And I really wouldn't mind it. I guess I'm kind of indifferent. For me, it's not even so much what you get back for Gleyber. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And it is highly unlikely that he will be back. It would be a big surprise. Things would have to turn around tenfold for Gleyber to be back. So I still feel like that's in play because something just doesn't seem quite right to me when I look at the composition of the way it looks. I feel like we're in transition right now, and I'll have better answers for you and better sort of a vision of what this team looked like after the Phillies series. And then DJ LeMahieu, like, what happens there? I mean, his role is nothing now, and kind of as it should be. The only role he really has right now is a defensive replacement for Ben Rice at first base, and I guess we'll see. I guess against lefties, I suppose that maybe he would be in there. I don't really agree with it. I don't. But I guess he might be in there for Rice at first base. So that's kind of the only thing that I could see. So maybe his days aren't numbered here, but it's like it'd be a very, very diminished role for him. So again, like those are two players that come to mind. What's interesting too, though, like Alex Verdugo, he batted leadoff. He really had a good series and a good week. And maybe him going back to Fenway was what he needed. The Yankees had a very good sort of opposite field approach. The offense was very good in these 3 games, and they're going to need to keep that going. So Verdugo against righties, right now he seems to be the leadoff hitter. Versus lefties, it probably would be Gleyber. And so the way they're talking, it does kind of feel as if Gleyber will still be around, but you got to think that Cashman and company are certainly open to the idea of trading him. So I just feel like a familiar, like a very well-known name and face on this team will not be here. I don't know who that will be, right? It could be Gleyber. It could be DJ. It could be Nestor Cortez. Like, you know, in the way of like the way that Jordan Montgomery kind of got traded. I could kind of see that too. So I feel like there's going to be a bit of a shakeup here. Chisholm, again, is the first like domino to fall. But I'm very curious to see because it's going to take some creativity as well to make it happen. But what do they do? And I think there's going to be multiple deals that happen in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. Let's transition into the Red Sox here. Again, it's tough not to kind of have most of the discussion around the potential trades and the Chisholm acquisition. But let's kind of talk about what's going on now. So with this series win, what it does is it puts the Yankees closer to the Baltimore Orioles. They are only 1 game back and 2 back on the loss side. So the Orioles are 62-43. The Yankees are 62-45. And in winning the series versus Boston, give themselves a little bit of breathing room against as far as the Red Sox are concerned. So Yankees are 5.5 games at the Red Sox, 4 on the loss side. And that's kind of the Red Sox, I believe, they are the last team out right now, the Red Sox. So like, that's what we're talking about. 1 game out of the division, 2 games on the loss column, and 5.5 games ahead of a playoff spot. They're right now the number 1 wild card team, the Yankees. They are 2.5 games out of the Twins, only 1 on the loss side, though. So the Twins are pretty close to the Yankees at the moment. And the Cleveland Guardians right now are a game ahead of the Orioles for the first spot in the American League. So it's all pretty bunched up. You know, as poor as the Yankees have played, they are right there. And the funny thing is they have the best run differential in the league at plus 106. And what's really interesting is the next team they're playing is the one team in Major League Baseball that has a better run differential than them and the team with the best record in all of Major League Baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies. So that, and Philly's really good at home. That is a test. That is a real test. And they're going to face the likes of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. So yeah, we'll discuss it at the end, but looking forward to that series, which should be interesting. Leaving this Red Sox series, which really had just about everything. We should definitely get into it because there is a lot to discuss, especially in the first 2 games. As far as any transactions that went on, other than Chisholm being on the squad and Davis being off, there is nothing that is coming to mind. So yeah. And keep in mind, the Red Sox, they were going in struggling, and they have had a tough go at it since the All-Star break. So the Red Sox, who seem to be more buyers than sellers, they've made a couple of moves. They traded for James Paxton from the Dodgers, so he's back with the Red Sox. Danny Jansen, who's a Yankee killer, he was acquired from the Toronto Blue Jays, and Jansen actually started the 3rd game and had a couple of hits. So continuing his Yankee killing ways. But as far as this series, what was great was that Oswaldo Cabrera started all 3 games over DJ LeMahieu. So I was not sure. Going in, I thought, well, they'll give LeMahieu a start. They didn't. And Oswaldo did take advantage of it. Had a very nice series offensively and defensively. The game 1 and game 2 lineups were the same. You look at this, and I guess let's just talk about some of the hitters individually. Great series by Alex Verdugo. Juan Soto, I'm trying to think of Soto's series and how the numbers end up panning out. I actually, he always gets on base at a good clip. Soto did homer in game 2. But as I think, and maybe because I'm kind of forgetting about game 2 a little bit, Soto didn't have the craziest of series. Aaron Judge hits a monstrous 470-foot 3-run bomb in game 1. Judge, and game 2, Judge was on base 6 of 6 times. He went 4 for 4. So Judge went like nuclear. He did. Austin Wells, he is settling into that cleanup position. Now, versus righties, I think he'll stay there, and Stanton will bat 5th. Versus lefties, they'll probably flip him, and Stanton would be cleanup and Wells would be 5th. But Austin Wells is becoming a story here, and the best thing that could have happened to him was Jose Trevino getting hurt. Wells has solidified himself as the no doubt starting catcher, and hey, like Wells' emergence, did that somehow result in the Yankees feeling more okay with trading Augustin Ramirez? I don't know. The two things could have been completely independent, but maybe. But Wells, love what I'm seeing from him on both sides of the ball. He's legitimate. I mean, look, maybe batting 4th, if we're being fair, is a little bit much. But hey, he's been great for a long stretch of time, and he is a middle of the order threat right now. Gleyber Torres had a good series. Had a 3 for 5 night in game 1, had a really, really big 2-run double in extra innings of game 2, and then had a really big 2-run single in game 3 in the first inning. So Gleyber, did a really nice job. Were there some defensive miscues? Yeah, there were. Nothing that was that I recall that cost them, but still. Ben Rice, the numbers probably don't end up looking so amazing, but you know what? Some pretty key at-bats on the way. A couple of sac flies in the series. I still feel like the at-bat quality is there. What you're seeing eye test-wise is better than the numbers, and so Rice, I think, has done enough to still have that first base job. Is it the strongest? Probably not, but it's certainly there. Anthony Volpe, for him, it's one of those things where, the numbers may not be terrible, but eye test for me, I don't love what I'm seeing from Volpe. Now, he did homer in game 1, and he probably had a hit. I don't know. Maybe I can't remember if he had a hit in game 2. But Volpe, I don't know. The good thing is this: with the lineup becoming what it's becoming, he's going to be batting 8th or 9th almost all the time, and that is exactly where he should be. Let him be at the bottom of the order, and I can live with that. That's where he belongs. Trent Grisham. Now, I have my issues with Trent Grisham, honestly, defensively, and just the way he plays is just so apparent. It is lacking of hustle. It really is. It's Gleyber Torres-esque. And so some of the decision-making that Trent Grisham, I have some issues with what I saw specifically defensively, but offensively, again, Trent Grisham has really been quite solid after, once he's gotten everyday reps. There's something to be said for that. Look at Austin Wells, for an example. But Trent Grisham now, though, with the trades and with Stanton coming back, I think, it's going to be a struggle for Trent. And with him, again, he's another guy, could he be traded away? Don't be so shocked if that does happen, because, again, his role on this team is really going to be very, very diminished. And then Oswaldo Cabrera, a very, very good series from him. Okay, so here we go, game 1. So a lot to discuss there, and still a lot more to go through. Like I said, especially in these first 2 games. Nestor Cortez, not good. And I don't know. Nestor is a popular guy in that locker room. and you can never have enough starting pitching. But I don't know. I feel like I feel like there's a chance that Nestor gets dealt. I just do. It's just a hunch. And it sucks because Nestor was one of my favorite. I mean, 2021 and 2022 Nestor Cortez was so fun and so good, and he still has it in him. Like, look at the Yankee Stadium numbers. Now, obviously, he got rocked in his last start at home versus the Rays, but the home stats are spectacular. He has been so bad on the road, and he looks really easy to hit. And so I'm not surprised in a matchup against the Red Sox, where they feature a very right-handed heavy lineup, that he would get touched up, and he did. He goes 4 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts, and a hit by pitch. And he went against Brian Bayo, and it's crazy. Bayo gets so much run support. Bayo was all right. I mean, he wasn't great. 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. So yeah, like Bayo is lucky to have the record he does. He's 10-5. Now, on the flip side, Nestor Cortez, who ends up getting a no decision, the record is not good. He's 4-9 on the season. And again, I still, that is misleading, but it still speaks to something. It's just the vibes just aren't great with Nestor Cortez this year. You know, I don't know, just something to me. It just something has been off with him, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but he hasn't been great. But anyway, Red Sox do take the lead in the first. Get a lot of guys on, and eventually it's a sac fly for Tyler O'Neill, who had a really strong series for Boston offensively. And so it's 1-0 Red Sox. But the Yankees, they come right back in the second. Anthony Volpe, dead center field, home run, his 8th homer of the year. It's off of Bayo, and it ties it up at 1. Let's go to the bottom of the third. You know, again, there's going to have to skip over some things because, again, it was really eventful what went on here. Runner on second, 1 out for Rafi Devers. Again, confusing as to why Devers wasn't pitched around here. It's a 3-1 count, and Devers just shoots it off the green monster for an RBI single, knocks Connor Wong in to make it 2-1 Red Sox. That all said, Rafael Devers actually did not have this crazy, ridiculous series that I expected him to. He didn't. He was actually kind of held down as much as he could be. And so, yeah, 2-1 Boston at that point. Then, bottom of the fourth, Red Sox score again. And it would be a 2-out RBI double for Rob Refsnyder. Refsnyder, the former Yankee, had a tremendous series. He's really been a very nice find for the Red Sox. Refsnyder, you always knew that he had that offensive potential. He's not very good defensively, but a good, solid hitter, really hits lefties well. And so that makes it 3-1 Boston. Top of the fifth, Yankees tied up against Bayo. It's an RBI double for Trent Grisham, makes it 3-2. And then with first and third, no out, Alex Verdugo, it's a sac fly, ties it up at 3. But then Boston takes the lead right back. It would be an RBI double for Tyler O'Neill. Second and third, no out for Masataka Yoshida, who gets a sac fly to make it 4-3 Red Sox. Nestor would not finish out the inning. Tommy Kahnle actually comes on and finishes the inning. And Kahnle, for me at this point, in terms of the circle of trust, growing for Kahnle. Definitely to me in that top 3. We'll kind of talk about who's trending up and who's trending down in that bullpen, but for me, Tommy Kahnle definitely trending up. Sixth inning, pretty frustrating, where the Yankees have a good chance to get something going. Second and third, no out. They do have Ben Rice go up against the lefty Cam Boozer, which I'm fine with, right? Because I don't want to go with LeMahieu. I wouldn't have wanted to go with any of the other options, but unfortunately Rice does ground out. So doesn't get the job done. They bring on the righty Josh Winkowski, and Anthony Volpe grounds out. They throw Austin Wells out at home. So again, that's where Volpe, and he's had really bad numbers of runners in scoring position, Anthony Volpe. Not a guy you really want up there in a clutch situation, which is unfortunate. And then eventually Trent Grisham flies out. So missed opportunity right there. Then you have a 6th inning of a combination of Tommy Kahnle and the lefty Tim Hill. And then the 7th inning, the Yankees do score 4 runs. The lefty Bernardino comes on for the Red Sox. It's a leadoff single for Oswaldo Cabrera. Really should have been ruled an error on Devers. Then after a Verdugo line out and a Cabrera goes to second on a wild pitch, Soto walks. They bring on the right-hander Zach Kelly, and Aaron Judge greets him with an absolute bomb. 470-foot bomb, 3-run shot, 36 homer of the year. He hit it in a place that you just don't see the ball hit in Fenway Park. Makes it 6-4. And then next batter, might have been next pitch even, Austin Wells homers his 8th home of the year to make it 7-4. So you're thinking, all right, not bad. Like, huge Judge homer. You get back-to-back home runs, but doesn't exactly work out for the Yanks. Keep in mind, DJ LeMahieu comes in as a defensive replacement for Ben Rice. Tim Hill walks Yoshida, and that does prove costly. As with 1 out, Luke Weaver on, he allows a 2-run homer to Rafaela. And Rafaela's been a Yankee killer. And look, Rafaela, I think he's going to be a good player. He's very talented, has power and speed. And so it's his 12th homer of the year, makes it 7-6. That was really big. And again, so for Luke Weaver, who I still like, Luke Weaver to me, I still hope is a key part of this pen, and I think he will be. He has been trending down. He has been. Like, even when he's pitched scoreless innings, it feels like he's still getting into some trouble. So that makes it 7-6. And then Yankees don't score in the 8th. Bottom of the 8th, Weaver's still on. Single Ref Snyder, walk Connor Wong. Luckily, though, he does get Rafael Devers to fly out. So maybe things are turning in the right direction. But Clay Holmes is coming on for a 5-out save, and it does not work out. And for Clay Holmes, it's just so apparent that he can't be the closer. Give him credit. He bounced back in game 2 with a very nice outing. It was actually a 2-inning outing for Clay. But I think whether it be Tanner Scott, whether it be Pete Fairbanks, whether it be Kyle Finnegan, or a number of other high-end relievers, I believe the Yankees will acquire at least one of them, and I hope it's someone that can supplant Holmes from the closer's role. Willie Abreu comes on as a pinch hitter versus Holmes, and he gets an RBI double to tie it up at 7. The problem I have with this, though, is Trent Grisham, takes kind of a weird angle and goes very slow into it. This should have been a single, and that could have changed the whole inning. Instead, it's a double, and so the infield's in, whereas if it had been first and third, you might have had second and short playing halfway. What happens? Yoshida, with the infield drawn in, gets a 2-run single. So I'm just saying, no one really made a big deal about that, but Grisham was kind of just lollygagging to the ball. But either way, Clay Holmes can't get the big strikeout, and the Red Sox take a 9-7 lead. We go to the 9th, and Kenley Jansen makes it interesting. And he wouldn't blow the save in game 1, but he would in game 2. Really bad at bat by Aaron Judge. Strikes out looking. I don't know what he was doing there. Austin Wells single, Gleyber Torres single, and then DJ LeMahieu, who had come in for defensive purposes. He's up in a spot where you would rather him not be up, and he strikes out. Poor at bat where it was a 2-0 count where he doesn't get the pitch. They call it a strike. It was close, but then he ends up swinging and pitches out of the zone, and that's what he would do. He would strike out. And then Anthony Volpe, again, who I don't love in these situations, he grounds out, and the Red Sox win what was another gut punch loss for the Yankees at the time. And that's the funny thing about this is, again, kind of like that Orioles series, it's all the order of things. It really does change the mood of the episode, where if the Yankees won games 1 and 2, and here this was a Sunday Night Baseball choke loss, the whole vibe is completely different. So we have to kind of remember to keep that in mind. But this was a pretty bad loss. And so the Red Sox take game 1. And the bullpen, it was a combination of, because look, the offense did score 7 runs, even though there was some missed opportunities, and it's more to do with Nestor Cortez not really doing well, and then as well, the bullpen really imploding, and some high leverage relievers at that. Game 2, honestly, I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, it did. And I think even reasonably, it topped game 1. Game 2, one of the better games, one of the more eventful games of the season. It really had just about everything, and it was a game that did go to extra innings. So let's jump into it. All right. So the lineup was the same as it had been in game 1. Now, at this point, keep in mind, the Chisholm trade was already announced. Obviously, he was not there for this game, but just in terms of the mindset, you already know that he's going to be a Yankee. Marcus Stroman has been bad lately, and I'm concerned about that. Stroman, it's to the point now where with Stroman, come playoff time, this is someone that you do not want, starting games. You really don't. And so he goes 3 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, 3 of those earned because of an error by Volpe. 1 walk, no strikeouts. So, yeah, I mean, for Stroman, again, the ERA on the season, 3.64, which is not that bad. But there's such a lack of strikeouts, and the whip is really high. Now, again, I always say it every episode, like, that is what Stroman's been his whole career. So it's nothing too different, but it's just something, I don't know. It's just something that you can't feel too confident in Stroman. Sure. Can he keep you in games? I guess that's true. Like, certain pitchers kind of implode. That's not Stroman. Stroman will kind of struggle the whole way through and kind of leave you in a situation where the game isn't over. And if the offense is doing well enough, like, you're right in the game. So there is that. Like, I kind of do view him as like somewhat of an innings eater, considering like how somewhat choppy and ineffective like the outings are for Stroman. So this was a game where, like, again, total back and forth, and the Yankees jumped on Carter Crawford. Carter Crawford struggled in this game, and that was good to see because he had been really good lately. He goes 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and allowed 3 homers. And he allowed 2 of them in the first inning. So it starts out with a Verdugo single, then Juan Soto hits a 2-run homer. So it's his 27th homer of the year, makes it 2-0 Yanks. And then Aaron Judge homers next batter. So back-to-back homers again for the Yanks. Judge's 37th homer of the season, makes it 3-0. Then we go to the bottom of the first, and Stroman gives those runs right back. It's an Abreu homer with 1 out in the first, his 9th homer of the year to dead center field. Then you get a 2-run double by Tyler O'Neill. Makes it 3-3. So just like that, Stroman gives it all back. Then in the second inning with 2 out, Oswaldo Cabrera homers. His 6th homer of the season to right field. Almost an unbelievable catch by Abreu. He actually went into the stands, originally caught the ball, but could not quite come down with it. Pretty wild scene. But it is a home run for Cabrera, and it makes it 4-3 Yankees. But right away, again, Stroman and the Yanks, for most of this game, could not get the shutdown inning. Whenever the Yankees would score, the Red Sox would score right back. And it starts out with an Anthony Volpe error. It's a play he should have made. Then Rafaela singles. You get a double steal. Makes it 2nd and 3rd, no out. And then Jarren Duran, he singles to make it 4-4. First, and at this point, and Trent Grisham throws it through. Instead of throwing to the cutoff man, he throws through, and Duran goes to second. And that kind of did cost them. Or it may have cost them. So again, Grisham doing some things that he shouldn't have done. Abreu. Now, it's interesting the way this is ruled. Abreu is considered flying into a double play. Here's what happens. Grisham makes a nice play, a diving play to get the out. Rafaela doesn't try to score from third on the sac fly. But what happens is they throw the ball in, and Rafaela is off third base. The Yankees realize this, and Oswaldo Cabrera, Glaber throws to Oswaldo, and they tag Rafaela out at third. I don't know what Rafaela was thinking, but a really bad out by the Red Sox. And then after that, with 2 out and a runner on second, and see, that's where it kind of comes in, where the runner really should have been on first if Grisham doesn't make that mistake. Yoshida RBI single. So I guess it kind of evens out where both teams kind of make a mistake, and it's 5-4 Red Sox right there. So they take the lead. Let's go to in the fourth, Stroman is replaced by Caleb Ferguson. So Caleb Ferguson, again, he's someone that I'd rather not be here by the trade deadline. I think, again, he's someone that to me could use a change of scenery. That said, Ferguson seems to have been okay lately. Not great by any means, but he's been all right. He gets out of that 4th inning. Then the 5th, the Yankees tie it up. Leadoff double Verdugo. Soto ground out, moves Verdugo over to third, and then Aaron Judge with an RBI single. Again, why are they pitching to him there? Not too sure. 5-5. Then Austin Wells with a bunt single, but ultimately the Yankees don't score in this inning. It ends up becoming a bases loaded 2-out situation for Volpe versus the lefty Bernardino, but Volpe strikes out. Again, I am frustrated with Volpe. Maybe like a little harshly so, but I am. So bottom of the 5th, Jake Cousins comes on. And for Cousins, he did have a good game 3. And I think he is someone that might honestly... So for Cousins, in terms of the trend up, trend down thing, Cousins, I would say trending down, but not like to a crazy amount. And again, I think that they do kind of see something in him. He does allow a leadoff homer to Tyler O'Neill. So it's O'Neill's 21st homer of the year, gives the Red Sox a 6-5 lead. Then in the sixth, unfortunately, leadoff double for Grisham really could have been an error on O'Neill. But then Cabrera ground out, Verdugo ground out, Soto ground out. Tim Miller comes on to finish out the sixth, replacing Jake Cousins. In the seventh, Josh Winkowski comes on. A walk by Judge, a walk by Wells. Torres grounds out, making it first and third, one out. The lefty Cam Boozer comes on, and Ben Rice, lefty, they leave him in, and he gets a sac fly. So again, there are still little things that Rice is doing in pretty big moments. So again, I'm not so down on Rice, even though the numbers are pretty ugly. Makes it 6-6. Let's go to the seventh. Tim Hill strikes out Rafael Devers, and they bring on Michael Tonkin. And Michael Tonkin, he is trending down. So for me, that's one of the big ones where there was a time when, honestly, Tonkin was right in that circle of trust. I feel as if lately he's dropping down in that pecking order, and Tyler O'Neill homers again. Second homer of the game, 22nd of the season, makes it 7-6. Then it's a Dom Smith double, Connor Wong hit by pitch, and David Hamilton RBI double makes it 8-6. So this game has the potential of getting right out of hand. Tonkin's getting hit hard, but give him credit and Canely credit because Tonkin gets Rafael at a ground out, so it stays 8-6. Then he walks Jaron Duran. So Tommy Canely comes on, bases loaded, 2 out, 8-6 game, and he gets Willie Abreu to ground out to keep the game alive. Lefty Bailey Horn comes on in the eighth, and after a Cabrera strikeout, Verdugo singles, Soto walks, and they bring on the righty Zach Kelly, who had just given up a homer to Judge the night before. Judge gets an RBI double. However, really bad base running by Juan Soto. He runs past the stop sign of third base coach Luis Rojas. Inexcusable by Soto. No way around it. And he's thrown out easily. So what could have been a situation where the Yankees could have tied or taken the lead dampens the chances in that eighth, stays 8-7, and then Austin Wells flies out. That could have been a sac fly. And so they're still down by 1. Eighth inning, Tommy Canely pitches a 1-2-3 with a couple of strikeouts again. Canely looking pretty good lately. Ninth inning, Kenley Jansen. He strikes out Glaber, but Ben Rice with a really big double to get it going. So that's big. Again, he had that double off of Jansen there. The 3-run homer in the ninth inning off of Kimbrel. He had a hit against Pete Fairbanks in the ninth inning. There's just a lot of moments. He had a pretty competitive at bat versus Jake Diekman in the ninth inning too. So I like the kid's competitiveness, even though you see the flaws and you see like that maybe he might not be able to keep the job, but I hope that they stay patient with him. Jahmai Jones pinch runs for Ben Rice. Anthony Volpe grounds out to short. Jones to third. 2 out, Trent Grisham up. And I will say, there was an 0-2 pitch that they could have called strike 3. It was close. And if you're a Boston fan, I understand if you're upset. But ultimately, the at-bat continues, and Trent Grisham gets an RBI double to tie the game up at 8. And that was huge. So we go to the bottom of the ninth. Clay Holmes comes on. And Holmes pitches a 1-2-3 ninth, and the Yankees in the 10th against Chase Anderson, who, keep in mind, he was designated for assignment after this game. The Yankees the offense did such a nice job in both the first 2 games that they were forced to use Chase Anderson, and the Yankees take advantage. Bad at bat by Verdugo, even though he had a really good series. He pops out to short there. A little frustrating, but the Yankees make up for it. Juan Soto singles, makes it first and third. Then Judge walks. So base sort of 1 out, and Austin Wells to sac fly. Again, just Wells putting together good at-bat after good at-bat, makes it 9-8. But like I always say, 1 run in that top half of the inning, that's the bare minimum. You got to get more than that. And Glaber Torres gets the big hit. A 2-run double for Glaber makes it 11-8. That was huge for the Yankees. Clay Holmes comes on, and there was a 2-out walk to Abreu. So Yoshida was the tying run, which is ironic because Yoshida, he had a game-tying home run off of Clay Holmes Yankee Stadium. The night before, he had the game-winning hit off of Clay Holmes, but he gets Yoshida to ground out, and the Yankees win a big one, 11-8. Gutsy win for the Yanks, another wild game at Fenway Park. And now let's go to the rubber game. So correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, this broke the streak. I didn't even think about this. This broke the streak of all those rubber games. They had lost either 4 or 5 straight rubber games. They finally get off the schneid. Again, I'm hoping that this is a series where everything comes full circle, where the bad shit began in Fenway and ends in Fenway. So Sunday Night Baseball, where usually the Yankees don't do well, at least it feels that way in recent years, especially against the Red Sox at this ballpark. but Carlos Rodón does the job. And that, to me, was huge. And it could have all gotten away from him. The fourth inning was ugly, but he was able to kind of escape it in better shape than I thought he would. And for Rodón, a really nice outing. 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. So he is able to follow up that really nice outing against the Rays with this one. This was good. This was in a really, really key spot. So Carlos Rodón, he's going to be key, right? Because you look at this rotation, the way I see it right now, assuming health is there, you got Garrett Cole, you got Luis Gil, and you got Carlos Rodón. And then you hope to get Clark Schmidt back. Because for me right now, like again, and there's a lot of moving parts, like I don't really trust Marcus Stroman, and I don't really trust Nestor Cortez. This is fluid, though, because, again, I'm not the biggest Carlos Rodón fan, but to be fair, as of right now, like, you know, he would be one of the starters in the postseason. I know that sounds obvious, but really, like, he had a really rough stretch after last year was really bad. So, Rodón, he got like 25 or more swings and misses tonight. Like, this was a really good outing for Rodón, even though I thought it was going to get away from him. Chaz Chisholm bats fifth, makes his Yankee debut in center field. I thought he bat leadoff. He bats fifth, and it kind of works out in the sense that Alex Verdugo had a nice night batting first. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Chisholm eventually moves up to leadoff. But you know what? They want to ease him in. They don't want to put too much pressure on him. You know what? I'm fine with that. Let's see how things go. And it moves Volpe down to eighth in the order, which I like. And yeah, so anyway, Yankees score 3 runs again in the first inning. Verdugo leadoff double. 1 out RBI single Aaron Judge. Graham rule double for Wells. You know, that situation where it's too bad it hopped over, because I think that if it goes in the corner, Judge scores, and maybe it's a triple. But anyway, Jazz Chisholm, not a great first at bat. He strikes out. And Chisholm has really good numbers of runners in score position. That's a stat that I like to see. And he had really good numbers. But he, again, not the best of outings. But look, he arrived at the stadium like an hour before the game. So, you know, not going to go crazy. He's wearing number 13. So most recently worn by Joey Gallo. Hopefully it doesn't go like that. And then before that, of course, Alex Rodriguez. So, and he said after the game that wearing 13 was one of the reasons was because of Alex Rodriguez. So, but Gleyber Torres bails him out with a really big 2-run single to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead. I can't tell you how big that is. And that was against Tanner Houck. And Houck, again, kind of not a great outing for Houck. 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. And that ratio is not so great. So 3-0 Yankees. And it would stay that way until the 4th, where Austin Wells gets a single, advances to second on an error. Jazz Chisholm grounds out, gets Wells over to third, Gleyber walk, and then a sac fly for Ben Rice. Gives the Yankees a 4-0 lead. Then in the 4th, though, is where Rodón got into trouble. Rob Refsnyder homers his 5th of the year. And so it's back-to-back homers as Connor Wong hits his 10th of the year. Then Rafael Devers triples off the Green Monster. This is where Jazz Chisholm made a mistake. I don't think he's used to the Green Monster. And it's a play where it should have been a double, but it hops over him, and so it's a triple. But Rodón is able to get out of it. I didn't think he would, but O'Neill strikes out, Gonzalez grounds out, Danny Jansen walks. So, again, Jansen in his Yankee-killing ways did continue itself as he went 2 for 3 with a walk in this game, but then he gets Rafael to strike out. So the score remains 4-2. Let's go to the 7th. Yeah, the 7th. So Houck is out. Cam Boozer, the lefty, is in. 1 out double Verdugo, walk by Soto. The former Yankee Greg Weissert comes on, and he struggled in this game. They needed him because the bullpen was thin, and he hadn't pitched the first 2 games. Judge walks, makes it bases loaded. Then Austin Wells, he gets a sac fly, makes it 5-2 Yanks. And we go to the bottom of the 7th where Rodón, his night ends. Danny Jansen singles off him. Not a great 0-2 pitch, kind of right down the middle, but a good outing nonetheless. And they bring on Jake Cousins. It's a single for Rafaela, making it 1st and 3rd, 1 out. But great job by Cousins as Dominic Smith, the pinch hitter, strikes out looking, and then Jarren Duran strikes out swinging. So we've seen Cousins has strikeout ability. So the score is 5-2. And in the 8th, the Yankees break it open a bit. Gleyber reaches on an error. Ben Rice doubles. Then Volpe grounds out to the pitcher. So again, Volpe not coming up big there, but also not great base running by Gleyber as the ball kind of got away from Weissert, but Gleyber doesn't go home. Anyway, second and third, one out, and the big hit is Oswaldo Cabrera, a ground rule double, makes it 7-2. Again, really like what I'm seeing from Oswaldo. I don't want his role to be completely diminished, but I think it might. Anyway, let's go to the bottom of the eighth. It's a combination of Jake Cousins and Caleb Ferguson coming on to do the job there. Keep in mind, DJ LeMahieu replaces Ben Rice defensively. Cooper Criswell comes on in the ninth inning, and that's where Jazz Chisholm gets his first hit as a Yankee. A single, an infield single, but a nice play by Gonzalez to keep it in the infield. Then Gleyber Torres grounds out to third. This was an interesting play. Chisholm was trying to steal on the play, and what he was going to do was he was actually going to run to third, but he ends up slipping, and his head knocks into the elbow of Romy Gonzalez, and he was actually pretty banged up on the play. Kind of hurt his jaw. It was down for a while. He ends up being all right, and the proof of that is that while DJ LeMahieu is up, Chisholm steals third. And that's the type of play you don't normally see the Yankees make. He saw no one was there, and he runs over there. 23rd steal of the season for Chisholm. I'm excited for that athleticism and speed brought to the Yankees lineup. And then DJ LeMahieu, what does he do? Sack fly. So again, the offense, by and large, very good in this series. Makes it 8-2 Yanks. And in the ninth inning, Caleb Ferguson would finish it out. And the Yankees win the ball game and the series. So Yankees improved to 62-45. A really, really big series win in many ways. Now they'll head to Philly to take on the league best Phillies. And all that said, with the trade deadline happening, or closing up right before game 2. So, that's going to be part of the story here is what happens for the Yankees from a trade standpoint. But the pitching matchups are as follows. Some pretty good ones. Luis Hill versus Zach Wheeler. I'm kind of most excited by that. I think that has potential to be a great pitcher's duel. Wheeler, one of the best pitchers in the National League, and Luis Hill, when he's on, and he's been pretty damn good lately, is, very tough to hit. And what I'm also keeping in mind is that Hill had a signature outing in spring training against the Phillies. Now, I don't know what that Philly lineup looked like, but I think it was a game that was in Philly. Therefore, it might have actually had some of these Phillies star hitters in that lineup. So I'm excited for that. Game 2 will be Garrett Cole versus Aaron Nola. Nola, I guess, look, he's 11-4, which is obviously really good. 3.4 ERA. So from like a name standpoint, doesn't get a whole lot better than Cole versus Nola. And Cole will look to bounce back after a bad start versus the Mets. And then game 3, a battle of southpaws. And that'll be Nestor Cortez, if he's still a Yankee. Again, I'm not 100% sold that he will be, but if he's still a Yankee, he'll start that one against Christopher Sanchez, who's had a pretty nice breakout season for the Phils. So yeah, this is going to be a tough test. Giancarlo Stanton is likely to return for the first game of the series, so that's exciting. So yeah, the energy, the vibes are definitely increasing for the Yankees, and I hope it gets better. There's a lot of season to go. You got 2 months left. But yeah, that race, the American League race in the East, the wild card, it's all right there. And you hope the Yankees can carry over that offense into this Philly series, but it's going to be tough. And again, as it starts with Zach Wheeler, it won't be easy. But excited to see what happens in what a lot of people would hope to be a World Series preview. I don't quite know that's going to happen. I have a lot of questions on this Yankee team. I really do. But going to enjoy this one. A nice series win in a wild, wacky series at Fenway. They take 2 of 3 from the Red Sox, and now they will head to Philly with the trade deadline just a couple days away.